So, tutorial part 5, and this one would be about objects. As I was mentioning before, objects is another complex data type which we obviously really need to cover. It's very useful, and in order to understand what objects are, we're gonna use another example, but we're gonna keep working on our forecast application in the future. But for now, let's just do something else. So let's say in your program you need to define some entity which will describe something like driver's license. So like physically driver's license, the card, what does it have on it? It usually have like a photo, it has your name on it, it has its ID on it, and let's say it has your date of birth or your age or something like that. So basically what you have there is you have sort of different values, because let's say your name is a string, and then you have your age is a number, which is a primitive value, and then like you have your its ID, so let's say something like that. The simplest way to store it is to just define multiple variables, right? And just assign the values to these variables. But what's bad about this approach? The thing is that these variables, they're not, even though they are sort of related to one entity, which is driver license, these are separate variables in the code. And so it's really hard to understand if you modify one, like to which other fields does it like sort of corresponds. And also the thing is that if you're looking for, let's say you have a database of different licenses, and if you're looking by a specific for a specific license by its ID, let's say, you won't be able to get the related values in any way. I mean, you probably could, but it would be much harder to organize. And in order to store values like that, where basically you have a paired values like key and value, something like object data type is very useful and often used. So let's say we have a license. I'm not sure if I spoke correctly. I don't worry at this point. And this is how the object is defined. So basically, it's pretty much looks exactly like array, but you have a curly braces. And in array, you only have one value, and you could access this value by its index. In case of object, you should name every variable you put into it with some sort of unique name. So let's say it's name, then you need to like this symbol, colon. I will call it colon. I'm don't know. I don't speak English. And let's just put age here, 35, and let's just do the same for ID. So, and now we can get rid of it. So now if all this data, it's sort of concise, it's sort of stored in the same variable, and we know that all these fields, all these properties actually belong to license object. And variables like that inside objects, they're actually called object properties. This is the official name for that. If you try to console log an object, it will say that we have an object, and it has name property, age property, ID property, and they all have the assigned values. If you need to access object property, you can do it um, by printing dot and then printing the name of property. So in this case, it will say Alex, and here you are. Same you can do with age, 35. That's super perfect. Basically, this is what objects are. But as you also could already guessed uh, from the last chapter. Objects can not only contain properties, but they also can contain methods, because here, as you can see, we call in some sort of function from this object, and functions which are belong to objects, they are called methods. How you define these functions? First of all, like the simplest way how you can do it, you just come up with another name. Let's say is adult, and you say that this is a function, and then let's just say if let's return true if the one who owns the license is adult, and return false in case it's not. Let's just set it to true for now, and let's console log out and then license, and then is adult. And also notice that this is not a property, this is a method. So basically this is a function. And so we need to add these round brackets in order for it to be called properly. And so it returns true. And if you don't do that, it will just say that this is a function. So it will return you an function, but it won't call it. So it won't be executed. It will just return sort of the body of the function, which is not the correct way to say, but let's put it like that for now. And so the thing is, we need to somehow, if we're calculating this correctly, we need to somehow check. So basically, if like age is greater than 18, in this case, we will return true. Basically, this statement is true, so we will return true. But obviously, it's not that simple. It won't work like that because it will say age is not defined. Why? Because age is not a variable. Age is a license property, and we can access it only like that. And if we put it like that here, it will actually work and it will return true. Let's say I'm 16 again, and then it will return false. But this, do you see the issue here? The issue is that it depends on the name of variable to which this object is assigned. So for example, if we have multiple objects, so you know that we can put different data types inside an array. If we have multiple licenses, let's say inside an array, let's say there are multiple things, multiple entities here. Like let's say it's not Alex, it's like Andrei. I don't know. I don't know names. And he has like different data, obviously, much different data, very different person. You can't access this property like that anymore. But as always in JavaScript, there is a way to do so, and this way is to use this keyword. What this keyword does, let me just remove my things really quick and just restore license object. It will refer to every property of an object. So if you want to access a property of an object from inside object method, you have to use this keyword. And that way it will also work. Let's just restore my regular age and see if it works. Yes, it's fine. Uh, Basically, this description of this keyword, like something that you use to reference the properties of object from inside object methods, it's a little bit narrow. It's not really what it does. If I didn't care about, would you understand what I'm talking about or not, I would say that it references the context of this reference the current execution context. But in this case, I believe it's even harder to understand. But basically, that's it. And the same thing which applies to pointing variables for arrays, to pointers in arrays. It's the same for the objects. So if I just create, why I said const, let's just forget about this. You never see any consts here. If I just create license 2 and I assign it to license 1, and then, for example, I access name and change it to something like, what else names do we have? Like, I don't know, Sam. And we will just, so if I just modify license 2 and I print license, regular license without anything, you will see that name is also modified. It's the same way with stone and rope. You just pull the rope and it's tied to the same stone. So be aware of it. And that's it for this tutorial. I hope you understand something, and till the next one.